What if the secret to success wasn't just talent or hard work, but unshakable confidence? Welcome to Grasp Confidence, the podcast where visionary thought leaders, speakers, and entrepreneurs unlock the mindset and strategies for lasting success. I'm your host, Tara LaFon Gooch, CEO, two-time best-selling author, and international TEDx speaker, and I can't wait to help you step into the most powerful version of yourself. Let's dive in. What if the greatest catalyst for someone's breakthrough isn't a strategy, but you? This special expert panel episode of Grasp Confidence, we unlock a powerful truth. Some people have never had a fan. Today, I will be joined by Bob Burg, Tammy Appleton, and Kathy Tagenel as we explore the go-giver mindset and what it really means to champion someone before they believe in themselves. Just imagine being the one voice that tells someone you can do this when no one ever has. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Good morning.
Yes, what an exciting episode. This is my first four-way conversation on Grasp. I'm so excited.
Rachel.
Yes, and I want to tell a little bit of a backstory of how we came here today.
Okay.
A few months ago, I shared a comment on Bob Burg's post, and I said, some people have never had a fan. They've never had somebody look them in their eyes and tell them that their idea was good, that they were able to accomplish something, that they could be successful. And then I said, when you do that, you can really watch the magic happen in real time. You can watch that person transform. And Bob was kind enough to reshare it as a post and let everybody know, hey, this is something, there's something here. I would love your feedback on this to his audience. Bob, thank you first off for sharing that.
Well, my pleasure. And I think the post of mine that you commented on was one on encouragement and how important encouragement is. And then when you talked about being a fan of someone, I thought, that really takes it to a whole other level, right?
Yes.
Because, one is fantastic. And I think encouragement is something we should all look to encourage each other and encourage as many people as we can. But when you become someone's fan, now you're saying something different. You're saying, I believe in you. And not only that, I believe in you to a point that I'm going to invest myself in your success. And I'm rooting for you. And I'm thinking about you. And, Kathy and Tammy are two of the biggest I know in terms of not only just encouraging others, but just getting behind people and being fans of people. And people appreciate that. And I know you're the same way, Tara.
Oh, I love that. And first off, I want to do proper introductions because it wouldn't be fair for the listeners not to understand who you guys are and how amazing you guys are. So let me do that real quick. Bob Burg, you are the co-author of the international bestseller, The Go-Giver, which has sold over 1.5 million copies and translated to 30 languages. Congratulations. Your philosophy centers on the power of focusing consistently on creating exceptional value for others. So it's no wonder why you are here. Tammy, you are the founder of Peak Play and the president and consultant and coach of a very successful organization. And you protect people in the world that are often underestimated. And you're a fierce advocate for them. And you have an I Believe methodology. You're also a certified go-giver speaker. So I love that.
Thank you.
And Kathy Tagenel, I love your last name so much. You're an accomplished leader, strategist, and community builder who helps visionary entrepreneurs and business owners rediscover their flow, create joy, and succeed without burnout. Did I get all that correct, guys?
You did. Thank you.
I love that.
And Kathy was actually, she was really the strategist. I like to say the branding brain, but I think strategist is probably, even more accurate behind the entire Go-Giver movement. So, she was really there when the book first came out. She strategized the entire process of what we were going to do with it. And I think a lot of those 1.5 million books are due to her.
Well, I'll be working with Kathy. I can tell after this. I love that. I've got book number 3 coming out, Kathy. I might need your help. I love that. So we're going to talk about what it really means to be a champion. And I was sharing right before we started today, there was a really good piece of content that I saw from Alex Hermosi a couple of days ago. He has lots and lots of followers on social media. And he said something really powerful. He said, I get a lot of likes and comments and encouragement on my post, but I've already made it. I get a lot of business. I've already made it. What about the person who's just starting out as an entrepreneur, who can't get anybody to give them a like, give them a comment, buy their course, buy their book, invest in them? And I've experienced this in my own life. I'm sure you guys have when you just started out as entrepreneurs. The struggle sometimes to get somebody to believe in your idea, right? And
Sure.
it's hard. I remember that very much, before my first TEDx talk as well. Somebody looked me in my eyes and said, you know what, that could be a TEDx talk. I had never thought about that before. And then we see what can happen, right, when somebody just has that fan.
Mhm.
So I do want to talk
100%.
about a belief catalyst, because I think it's a catalyst. Every great leader has had someone who has believed in them, and I would love to hear it from you guys. I will start with Kathy, since you're the first square on the screen, right? Have you ever had somebody that just believed in you, even when you didn't believe in yourself?
Oh, yes. It's been so important. And I would say Bob is probably one of those individuals. And since he's here, I'm gonna go with him as my answer. We happen to have met in 2006. And from there, when The Go Giver was coming out, I got to read an advance copy. And he asked, would anyone like to host a live event? And I was like, would you come to Albuquerque, New Mexico? And he was like, sure, so do you want to, there was this idea, and I'm like, well, okay, I've never done that, but let's do that. And kind of the rest is history. We did 50 of those events together around the country. And he believed in me. I mean, I had never put on an event that size. And then, together 16 years we've worked together. He's just believed in me and let me help create this movement with him around his amazing book and ideas.
I love Albuquerque. It's such a fun town. Known for the hot air balloons, right?
Yeah.
I love Albuquerque. That is such a powerful story. Bob, how did that make you feel?
Well, so I'd met Kathy because I was writing for first for an online magazine that she had, and she came to an event, and we got to know each other there. And then when John David Mann's and my book came out, and I was putting now events, speaking events around that, and I just from speaking with her when we first met, I knew, she's like super brilliant. She'll never say it, but I mean,
She is.
yeah. Well, Tammy, you are too. So, but it's like I'm surrounded by all this brilliance, which is great. You got John David Mann, who's the most brilliant writer in the world, and you've got, and so I knew that she had the ability to do whatever she wanted to do, basically. And she systemized. So what she didn't tell you is the event. What we said is, get a certain amount of sponsors, get the arena, get the different things. But there was no real system for her to do that. She invented the system. And she had like 350 people there. It was a whole big thing. It was the talk of Albuquerque, she did, and it was because of her promotion. But she systemized it. And that's when I had said, do you want to put these together all over the country? And she created the system for it, right? And that's how that happened. Very easy to believe in someone who, is very believable.
Right?
She's a quiet powerhouse.
Yeah.
I love that. That's amazing. And look at how far you went with that, right? Because you spoke all over the country. You have, this phenomenal book that sold over 1.5 million copies. It's turned into quite a legacy for you. And I think that shows that behind every successful person, there are people who champion them, right? Who believed in them when no one else did, who saw that idea as valuable, as something that could really be translated to legacy building. And sometimes us visionaries, we need that. We need that integrator, that person that can take that vision and really translate it into a strategy, into a formula that's repeatable, that can drive revenue, that can bring in clients, that can lead to business growth. I love that. I would love to hear from Tammy as well, because you are a certified go-giver speaker, right?
Yes, I am. Mhm.
I would love to hear this go-giver philosophy in regards to championing and how the go-giver philosophy really teaches how influence grows by putting other people first. What do you think about that?
Well, that's actually the reason I became a go-giver. Somebody had referred the book to me, and when I believe in something, I'm pretty passionate about it. So somebody gave me the book, and that it was immediate after I read it. I have to be part of this organization. You are talking real world, real change, and truly making a difference in my business with coaching and in the world around me. As I did create the I Believe methodology for one of my businesses. So this just aligned with me all across the board. I was very excited. But the idea of being able to influence, to be a part of an organization that was about giving and supporting. And I just have to tell you, even through I've been in person with Kathy and Bob a few times, and the people that are in these, masterminds, trainings, we are all in awe of how Bob and Kathy are just the most real, authentic people about giving, about supporting, and you can see it with everything they do. So that is how I became involved, with the Go Givers. And as it aligned with me, it's easy to embrace. It's easy to make everyday part of your world. And I truly am a believer that if you need one person to believe in you. And once that person believes in you, that changes your whole trajectory. That doesn't matter if you're, 10, 15, 30, 50. That changes who you are.
Oh, it really does. It really transforms that person.
Absolutely. Doesn't matter what age.
No matter what age, exactly, because some people have never had that, that support
100%.
system.
And you'd be surprised. I grew up not receiving much of that myself. So for me, that is a huge catalyst in what I do, because I think that is so important. I think it's important to shout it out. I think it's important to make sure the people in your world know it. Why not believe in the people that are surrounding you? So I'm blessed beyond measure to be part of this group.
I love that. That is so powerful. Bob, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Because you have, I'm sure there was a point, right? Maybe it was before Kathy, who was somebody who really believed in you and put you on that trajectory. Was there a point in time when you started writing these books with John Mann that maybe you doubted yourself and you weren't sure if this would be such a success or not?
Well, as far as the Go Giver series goes, having John as the co-author and really the lead writer, storyteller, that part was easy because John is John. I mean, he's so brilliant. The interesting thing is, and that a lot of people don't know, is after we had the book written and our agent was shopping it around to the New York publishing community, we were turned down by the first 24 publishing houses.
Wow, 24.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, Tanny. But what John and I did, though, was really we put our egos aside and just said, okay, let's listen to what the feedback is. Because Margaret McBride, our wonderful agent, had such great relationship with them. She always would ask, for the reasons. And some of them were just, well, we don't think a parable will work. We just don't feel like publishing a parable. We don't like the story itself, blah, blah, blah. But, and so those are things that they're not going to change. But then there were things such as little, critiques that had some merit to them, right? And Kathy, you'll remember because we had kind of the brain trust with John's wife back then, his fiance, now his wife, and a couple other people that were sort of the brain trust that we all would put the ideas together, and everybody was very encouraging, and it was always, okay, you guys have a great book there, don't worry, just keep them. We'd make the adjustments and so forth, and then at one point we were told, I think it was the 21st or 22nd publisher said, we don't think they have a big enough platform to make this, a book we'd want to publish. And, Tara, you're a published author. So that when a publisher says platform, what they mean is people who are definitely going to buy the book because they know the authors. Right? Now, the thing is, we knew we had a big enough platform. John, who had been a writer for years, had interviewed some of the most successful people, had a huge network. I had a good network myself. So we knew that wasn't the point, but we also understood that we hadn't communicated correctly, that we had a big enough platform, right? And that's so important. So what we did is we went back to the drawing board, invested a bunch of money and time in putting together, and Kathy, you'll remember this, a whole new video that we then had that communicated the platform we had. And then I think the 25th publisher picked this up, and they've been a wonderful publishing partner. But all the encouragement we had on the way through those 24 rejections really kept us in the game. And it was, yeah, you guys have a great book. You can do this. Is going to happen. Someone's going to pick it up. Now, I was also, I've got to say, very lucky in my life that I grew up with parents who were very encouraging. Okay. And, so as far as I was concerned, if I wanted something bad enough, I could go after it. And there was a chance I was going to be successful. In fact, the only limitations on me were my own limitations that I had. Okay. And so I was fortunate. And so there've been people throughout the years. Hey, there are many that aren't encouraging. That's life, right? And we've got to just understand that. But there were also many at different times in my life that said, Burg, you've got this. You can do. And, and I tried to always listen to them.
I love that. This is so resonating with me right now. As I mentioned to you, I'm working on my third book. I'm going with a traditional publisher this time. The first book I wrote, they said no. They said, we don't need another book like this. Bob, can I tell you, I wrote 70-something thousand words in that.
Oh, wow.
It's okay. We're using it as content. No problem. It's fine, right? But immediately when I got that first rejection, of course, it's really easy to kind of wallow, right? And you're like, why?
100%.
But I immediately, within maybe 5-10 minutes, came back to her and said, what about a book for this? Would the market need a book like this? And she said, actually, yeah. And finally, at that stage, I've been working on this since June with my agent. Finally, at that stage where we're signing papers, I'm like so excited.
Woo.
So
congratulations.
Yes, it's all about that perseverance and not giving up even in the face of failure. Because I think that's the preparation to make us into that, excellent work where we're delivering absolute value, absolute excellence. Sometimes we have to hear no a couple times. Sometimes we have to get turned down and fail. And then we use all of that feedback to make the final work even better. Right, Bob?
Yeah. There's a great book. It's one of my all-time favorites. It's called Go for No. It's a business parable by Richard Fenton and Andrea Waltz. It came out a couple of years, I think, after The Go-Giver. And it's a very short parable about a copying machine salesman. And it is, wow, it just totally reframes the concept of no. And so the book is called Go for No. And then the subtitle is Yes is the destination. No is how you get there. Right.
So true.
And so, it's a fantastic, Go for No, GOFORNO.com is their website. And it's a brilliant, brilliant book, but it really just is, as you were talking about, when you're going to get the no's, right. And we're all going to, and we don't have to like the no's. This isn't one of those where, so one of my pet peeves, if you will, of the personal development movement sometimes is that you're supposed to just like everything. It doesn't matter what. No, That's not how it is. Getting no's stinks. I hate hearing no, right? But it is understanding that it's part of the game, right?
Don't you find it's almost part of the journey, Bob? Like
It is. Well, it is
part of the journey.
It's unavoidable. Yeah, it's unavoidable.
Right.
And what happens, and I've always said that many salespeople, I'm sure it's the same with book authors, salespeople, entrepreneurs, someone who has an idea and has a certain goal or dream or desire or whatever, what knocks them out of the game when they potentially could have succeeded beyond their wildest dreams, what knocks them out of the game is not being told no. It's thinking they're the only ones being told no.
100%.
They look at the other people who have all the tens of thousands of followers or likes or whatever, or walking across the stage, getting awards and all these wonderful things. They just did this and everybody just said yes. And they were saying, no, not at all. It's that old saying, those people were up there, they filled up a 5-gallon barrel of no's in order to get their quart of yeses. But they got the yeses, and that's because they got all those no's. So, yeah, I recommend Richard and Andre's book for everyone. I wish it had been written back when I first started in sales, because I went through the same thing. And it never stops. You keep getting no's. It just the yeses get bigger and so forth.
And I think you begin to use them in different ways. I find failure as a tool for success. So I find I learn every time I do something or I'm not able to do something. So I do think it's a necessary tool. I think it's how you bounce back. I think it's how you recover. I think it's how you handle it. And it gets easier as you go. But of course, it's painful. There's no way around it.
Yeah, no one likes it.
Exactly. No one's going to row for it.
Yeah. But Bob, as you teach, it's all about the reframe,
100%.
Exactly.
It's all about the reframe. And
Yeah.
I think, to your point as well, if you told somebody that they were 100 no's away from $1 billion, they'd actually be excited to get no's because they'd be checking them off. Okay, all right, I've only got 99 to get there.
Almost there.
Yeah, almost there, almost at my billion. And honestly, that's how I approach my day. I know that people are going to reject, people are going to say no, people are going to turn me down, they're going to go to somebody else, and that's fine. But I try not to leave any day without getting a couple no's because I know it gets me closer to that yes, right? And you have to filter out those no's in order to find the yeses.
Mm-hmm. Gives you a little bit of fuel.
Yeah, I think it's all about building those consistent habits, right? And, again, striving for that excellence, for that end goal, and getting feedback along the way. Kathy, I would love to hear from you as well, since you are apparently the brains behind everything, according to Bob. I love that. Yeah. When you were in this journey, I'm sure there were times, because as entrepreneurs, we kind of sometimes say yes before we even know what next step to do, right? Mm-hmm. Say yes, and then you get ready, and you try, and you fail, and you do, and you succeed. When you were planning all of these events for Bob and for this Go Giver series, what was something that sustained you and helped you keep going, even in the face of failure, adversity, or just bad circumstances or timing?
Well, the overall mission of what, Bob had created with his book and his and my vision of wanting to spread this message. This was back in 2008. Right when everything crashed. So I always said way ahead of its time. It was before social media was big, So we ran into a lot, especially in 2009, trying to get anyone who even wanted to host an event. But we kept going, and then 2010 we had a lot more, and it just kept growing. And I just, I think the two of us, we work so well together. We complement each other with our strengths that, and Bob has a wonderful sense of humor. So he makes everything so much fun.
He does. Doesn't he? Doesn't he?
Like, really, we're laughing about it, and we're finding, we're reframing, we're finding, how do we, turn this into a more positive situation? So it was really just staying connected to what the mission was that we had about, spreading this message, building a go-giver community, changing how business is conducted one person at a time, one business person at a time.
I love that. It's so, and I love the fact that this is not just, be a good giver as a person. It's also be a good giver, be a good giving business. Like how can you translate that into actual team success and business success? I want to talk about this disruptive time a little bit because we're living in uncertainty right now. I think there's a lot of uncertainty in the air. There was uncertainty with COVID. There was uncertainty in 2008 with the, collapse of the economy. Right now, there's some uncertainty. People aren't sure, right? So the fact that you guys really developed this huge movement in a time of, a lot of uncertainty says a great deal about it. One of the things that you said that really stuck out is you believed in it. I think if you believe in something, again, it goes to the core conversation that we're having. If you believe in something, regardless of the outside circumstances, you make sure it happens, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about that a little bit because this is an age of uncertainty, and I think we need to go there. Tammy, Bob, Kathy, who wants to go first?
Well, let's let Bob go because we'll all follow him.
Not a bad idea, all right?
Right? Let's do that.
Well, I mean, I think too, in a sense, there's always some uncertainty out there because there's only so much we can control, right? We can only control our own actions. And I know, the four of us and we're all entrepreneurs and we all basically know there are ways to do business and there are those things that we can be sure that we take care of, such as providing value to others, focusing on our customers and our clients, doing the appropriate marketing and the positioning and the videos and the podcasts and doing the things that get out there. And then when we connect with people, doing the best we can to make their lives better as well as our own. There's nothing self-sacrificial about focusing on providing value to others. That's all we can control, right? So other than that, everything's uncertain. And, he said, yeah, but isn't it like worse now than it? Well, it is worse than sometimes and not as bad as other times. And yet, if you notice the people who just kind of do the thing anyway, they manage to get through it.
Yeah.
And I think but I also think that's where, when we go back to the original theme of the show, encouragement and being people's fans. I think when you're part of a community, and it doesn't have to be a formal community, but just a bunch of people, whether it's online on LinkedIn or whether it's a mastermind group or whatever it happens to be, when you've got people who are truly rooting for one another and are each other's fans and are there as a sounding board and to talk strategy into
finding your tribe.
Finding your tribe. Yeah. You're 9 steps ahead of the game in a 10-step game.
Right. I love that. Finding
that gives you power. Just finding your tribe and having that support gives you that extra support, that extra boost. I mean, let's take LinkedIn, for example. If you look back at all the posts Bob has done or Kathy has done, they're all about supporting everybody around them and in their tribe. So I think that's a blessing in itself. And I think once you do find your tribe, you have that consistency, persistency. You can just keep going. The failures are going to be there, but you keep going. You make sure that you are also doing the same for those along your journey. So I love the finding your tribe.
And such a good tip.
And also something that Bob had and John wrote about back in 2008 when the economy was going off the cliff was it's about controlling your economy. You can't control the economy, but you can. And it really comes down to focusing on what are you creating? What habits every day are you doing to create the world you want to live in? And that's kind of, with Bob and I, that's what I just focused on. I want to live in a go-giver world where people are giving value. And so that's what I stayed focused on. It resonated with my heart. And I think that's even more powerful today. It's all about being in alignment with who you truly are, finding those people that resonate with you and create from that place, a place of joy.
I love that. In a world of go-getters, be a go-giver, right? I think that is such a powerful philosophy right there, because if we just step outside of ourselves, and like Bob said, it's not something that has to be self-sacrificial, but instead of waking up every day and thinking, what can I get from somebody today or something? If we think of what value can I deliver to somebody, who can I get to give? Who do I get to give to today? Gives you a whole different energy, whole different outlook, whole different mindset. And people feel that it resonates when you're looking for something to get versus just looking to give value. Totally different. Bob, I can tell you're ready to say something. I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, just based on what you're saying, I think we generally can tell who the go takers are out there, right? The people who are just looking to take without having added value to the person, to the process, to the situation. And not that there aren't some good fakers out there who can, but by and large, I think people generally can tell. And I think even so with social media, it's really harder to cover up those go taker type of slip ups. So yeah, and I think that's pretty much, we're attracted more to those people who we know have our well-being at heart.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I know last words, Kathy.
Well, I was just going to share, if anyone, you're finding yourself in that place where you sort of feel a little desperate, like you need this, step back and say, what do you think you need to get? And then go give that to someone.
Ooh.
And a lot of things don't cost anything, just a smile, just, a word of encouragement, hearing love, it will come back to you.
And don't you find it feeds your soul when you do it too? I know it feeds mine.
That is the secret, I think.
It is. It's almost a self-feeding of your soul.
Wow, that is so powerful. Think about what you need and go give it. And you know what? When we do that, it always comes back. It's reciprocal, right? That's how this universe works.
Mm-hmm.
What we give comes back to us. And I truly, truly believe in that. Thank you all so much for this amazing expert panel discussion. This was a treat. I'm sure it was a treat for all of our listeners as well. And, my big takeaway that I learned is that this is free. It requires no extra energy, little extra effort to be a champion for others, to give even when we want to take, and to be that, that lighthouse for someone. That instead of shining the spotlight on ourselves, we become the lighthouse, the beacon for somebody else to guide them to the path of purpose, success, fulfillment. And honestly, the sky's the limit. So thank you so much for everyone who came to this amazing panel today. Bob, Kathy, and Tammy, you guys are welcome back anytime. And thank you so much for everyone who tuned in to this episode of Grasp Confidence. We will see you on the next episode. Take care.